County Regional Planning Commission. If you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to review the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any changes needed, any additions? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, Mr. Tyndall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, public, and those watching online. We do have several deferrals today. 2 zoning cases have been deferred till next month's meeting. That is the first case, Z70 2023 application of PB&J for R1 to PUD on Manning Heights and Riverside Drive. That will be heard next month, pending a traffic study they're doing. And then item number 6, Z5 2024, application of the Conwood Company from M1 to CBD, also will be deferred a month. Skipping forward to your site reviews. This will be on page 8 of the agenda. Item 17, SR6 2024, CBF Enterprises for Clarksville Faust. And item 18, SR7 2024, CJM Development for Leatherwood Distillery. Both those will be deferred until next month. Mr. Chairman, I need a motion on all 4 deferrals.
Need a motion to defer these 4 to next month.
Make a motion.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed,
Aye.
like sign. Okay. Mr. Speenhauer, it's yours. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me say this many times, but the rezoning cases, in all the rezoning cases that are going to be voted on today, we have an opportunity for 3 to speak in favor of the case with a limitation of 3 minutes per speaker. On the flip side, for those that are against the rezoning, we also will entertain up to 3 individuals who are against, and that likewise is a 3-minute limitation. So please keep that in mind. The applicant is allowed a rebuttal also at the end after the last presentation, and that is not to exceed 3 minutes. Remember this, all of what we do today is a recommendation only. This recommendation will go forward to the city or county depending on where those properties are located. And if you want to follow those cases, all the information is in item number 4 on the first page of your agenda. Keep in mind that the 2 elected bodies have a difference in the way they approve. The county only votes 1 time. So if you miss that 1 meeting where they voted, that's it. It's approved in one meeting. The city votes twice. So you've got an opportunity to see the original first vote, and sometimes things change in between, or more information is available in between, and the second vote may be the same or it may not be. So if you want to follow and make sure you know what your case is, you need to be there, and you'll have an opportunity to speak if you'd like. Mrs. Speenhauer?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Your first application starts on page 1 of the city staff report for city zoning. It is Z1 2024. It's the application of Mr. Johnny Piper. The request is to go from R1 single family residential district, an OP office district, and C5 highway and arterial commercial district to R4 multiple family residential district. It's for a tract of land located northeast of the Fort Campbell Boulevard and Old Mill Road intersection. The reason for the request stated by the applicant is to facilitate the sale of the property after the tornado destroyed structures and vegetation. Total acreage to be rezoned is right at 17.5, plus or minus. This would be an extension of the zoning classification. It's described as a former estate home site that was recently destroyed by a tornado. It is in the Peters Mill planning area. On page 2 of the staff report, you'll see the department comments are received in reference to this application. Traffic assessment was requested by the street department, received and accepted by the street department, as the development will not result in a decrease in the level of service. You'll see the school system comments there listed on number 8. We did take some calls, and if it is important for you to be aware that the site has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places as an honorary designation. Page 3 of the staff report, this impact would be increased multifamily residential density. It would be accessible from Old Mill Road. This does abut a portion that is already zoned R4, and it does have a connection over to Tynewood. If you could see on this aerial photograph, that would be on the right-hand side of the photograph. Historical estimates of 210 units for this amount of property. Staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. This property and existing structures sustained significant damage from a recent tornado. The request is part of a node of development that is a mixture of commercial along the predominant roadways and then transitions to a mixture of housing types. The area proposed for R4 multiple family residential is in character with the established development pattern and links well with the surrounding uses and roadway network. The R4 multifamily residential district is an extension of the established R4 district to the west. Adequate infrastructure does serve the site, and no adverse environmental issues were identified as part of this request. Page 4 and 5 are aerial overviews of the request. Page 6 is a zoning map overview of the request. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Okay, we're now going to go into public hearing. This is an opportunity for the applicant to speak and anybody else that is in favor and against this particular rezoning. So if you would, please come forward, identify your name and address.
My name is Houston Smith with TTL 330 North 2nd Street. I'm here representing the applicant, who's also here to speak for it. As Mr. Spanhauer said, it's a split zone property, a lot of C5 and some OP and R1 on it, adjacent to some R4, just trying to bring it all together to do one single development and to facilitate the sale, because he's no longer able to live on the property and is ready to move on. I can try to answer any other questions. If not, I'll invite the applicant up.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Good afternoon. You've got the application in front of you. I've lived on this property about 34 years. Really enjoyed it and had a great time there. Had wonderful neighbors. Some of them are here today, and just had a good time. It's unfortunate about the tornado coming through there and done significant damage there. So we had to move on and move another direction, and that's why we're requesting the rezoning. Good part of it's already zoned R4 in the back. Part of it's zoned commercial in the front. We're asking for that to be R4, and then all of it to be zoned R4. We think it's a proper zoning request for this based upon the surrounding area. Any questions?
I do, Mr. Piper. I do notice you were saying that you did have all access onto Old Mill Road, coming off of the property if it's rezoned. Would you consider, I mean, I noticed that either Mr. Spanhauer or Mr. Smith said that there's some connectivity to another road anyway.
Yeah, there's a connectivity on the backside, which was designed this way when we did this 30 years ago. We designed a road back there, and it's paved into the property off Tynewood Road. But What's your question, Bill?
My question would be, is Old Mill Road your only ingress egress into this?
No, the one in the back, but it does not, Old Mill Road is not, when you enter there off of Fort Campbell Boulevard, this does not enter on Old Mill Road. There will be no entrances on Old Mill Road from this property. From the front entrance coming in all the way down, no entrances on that road. There's gonna be a privacy fence along that road. No entrances from this property onto Old Mill Road.
So how will you access onto Fort Campbell?
Okay. Old Mill Road comes off of Fort Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
It's there where the entrance will be into the subdivision. As you turn left and come down Old Mill Road, all of that will not be affected. There will be no entrances from that point, from the first entrance there coming off of Fort Campbell Boulevard, straight into the property. Instead of turning left, going down Old Mill Road, there will be no entrances on this property onto Old Mill Road.
Okay.
It's only the one entrance off Fort Campbell Boulevard, like every other entrances are.
But nothing on Old Mill Road?
Nothing except the part coming off Fort Campbell Boulevard.
Okay, so you're gonna redo or enhance?
You're gonna build another road coming off your
Yes.
property.
3 lanes into the property. From Fort Campbell Boulevard, straight in. If you turn left, that's where Old Mill Road is. And there'll be no entrances from that point to the left, there's no entrances onto Old Mill Road.
Okay, so a driveway to this project, and then Old Mill Road would be to the north?
To the left, north.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so there's not gonna be any entrances onto Old Mill Road. From, when you turn off Fort Campbell Boulevard and you go into the property, there'll be an entrance into there, but the Old Mill Road then kind of turns left, and from that point, 800 feet, 1,000 feet down, there will be no road access. There'll be no access from this property onto Old Mill Road. So my neighbors will, they'll have there'll be the only 3 on that road that'll use that road,
Right.
which
I
is
was
a city
thinking about
road.
the
by
other
the way.
500 people trying to get out too, though.
I'm sorry?
The other 500 people that are living in the development too, not just the 3. Am I not correct? Didn't you say that it was population of 500 and something?
When the whole site's built out, because there is that portion of R4 that's already zoned that way, we're estimating, what'd you say, John, 240 or 280?
210 is
210.
what's being zoned, and 557 at 2.7 people per units.
Yeah, so with all the land combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that back part that's already zoned can be accessed and is accessed possibly by the developer that I'm not gonna be the developer, by
I
the way.
understand.
Would be off that back road, probably a good part of it, so,
Okay,
off onto Tynewood Road,
sure.
which is behind this property, y'all saw it on the map, that's all R4. You got R4 all around me, you got commercial around that, commercial down to the left, everything's commercial. I'm surrounded by commercial R4. So it's probably I think it's a logical transition, so.
I have one question. So I know you said that the house on there is on the historical registry.
Yes.
How much land around that will it protect? So like, I know we have a big piece of that property. How much will be protected for that? I know that you want it to be. I just wanted to know how much.
Well, it's, the historical zoning, as Dr. Tindall's talked about, it's a honorary designation.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
It's my understanding from the gentleman that I've had negotiation with on selling the property to, that he's gonna incorporate the house and the kitchen house, which is behind it, as a part of this plan.
Oh, okay,
But that's for another
Okay.
day. As
Yeah.
far as site plan and all that, I'm not involved in that.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have another party to speak in favor of this particular case, Z02 2024? Okay, is there anyone here who would like to speak against this application?
Good afternoon. I'm Rob Durrett. I live at 160 Old Mill Road, and I was hoping that I could get you to persuade you to vote against the rezoning. And the reason I say that is for our community, the mixed zone development would be a whole lot better because it would change the traffic flow and that, the schools wouldn't be impacted as much and there wouldn't be as many, there wouldn't be 500 people trying to get out on 41A at 7 o'clock in the morning. So, that's the reason I'm asking for you to vote against it, because it would be better for our community, as mixed zoning as it is. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Durrett. Okay. Do we have anybody else who would like to speak against this rezoning application? Anybody against? Okay, the public hearing is closed.
Do they want rebuttal?
Rebuttal.
Yes.
He says no, he's saying no.
Johnny.
Oh, no.
Where's-
Okay.
I can't see where
He
he
said
is.
no.
Okay,
Both
all
shaking
right.
their head.
You were hiding in plain sight. Okay, public hearing is over. Commissioners, we're back into regular session.
I've got a question for the street department.
I don't know if he's trying to leave or what he's gonna come up here.
Yes, sir.
I know that from what I read, from what you say, that there's not gonna be an effect, from what the street department said, except that as the development will not result in a decrease in the level of service. But I guess my question is this, not the 3, but the 500 that potentially will be on the site if it's changed to R4. What will that level of service be at the end? And I know Mr. Piper said it was not connecting to Old Mill Road, but somehow it's got to come off Old Mill Road to get into the site. So what does it do to the Old Mill Road, Fort Campbell Boulevard,
Sure.
ingress, egress?
And we talked to the applicant, or the engineer that did the assessment, and we asked for some calculations on level of service, where that would come out. And their analysis indicated that there wouldn't be any change in level of service, that it was an acceptable current level of service, and that it would actually not alter that level of service with the trips that are being projected here for this development.
Coming out of Old Mill Road.
Yes, wherever that entrance point is.
Mhm.
Like I said, I haven't seen a particular site plan, anything that's specific to show exactly how that would line up, but he took all the trips that were coming from the development and said, all right, if this had to enter on Fort Campbell Boulevard, is there sufficient capacity on that road to handle the additional traffic, and what type of delays are we looking to have? And they were all in the acceptable range.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cowan, I think part of what's lost from some people looking at this is there's a good portion of this property that's already zoned commercial, which generates a substantial amount of traffic in paper because it's not developed yet.
Right, and I think
Okay.
that's the key that the assessment showed to us, is that when you look at the potential for what that C5 could generate, going to R4 is actually a reduction in trips for that portion of it. And when you look at the comparison of the overall, it's actually a reduction, I believe, in trips that could be there.
Which is why they were saying there would be, there's not a decrease, but not an increase either. Is that what, because of the potential? Just for
Correct.
the record, can we get an idea of what C5, what could potentially go there if no zone, if we left it at C5? What could go in that space?
C5 has a wide range of uses, anything from major retail, big box stores, automobile repair, automobile sales,
Gas stations,
hotels,
fast
gas
food.
stations, fast food. It's the largest range of commercial
I
uses
thought
that
it
we
was.
have.
Okay, thank you.
And the good, as you see this, I think this map shows that the portion that's crosshatched, just a little less than half of it is currently zoned commercial.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions for Mr. Cowan?
And again, as a reminder, planning commissioners, that when this comes up for site plan, it'll be back before you for access and consideration of the design at that time.
Okay, commissioners, we're in regular session.
I make a motion for approval based on the proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. This property and existing structures sustained significant damage from a recent tornado.
Got a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Got a motion and a properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
No.
So we've got
4-1.
4 ones and 1 against. So the motion passes 4-1. Mr. Spainhour?
Yes, sir, Commissioners. Your next application starts on page 7 of the city zoning report. It is an application that was here last month. It is Z2 2024. It's the application of Sidney B. Hedrick. The agent is Hunter Wynn. Total request is right at 2 acres. Presently zoned O1 Office District. It has been amended to an R2A single-family residential request. The reason for this, stated by the applicant, is to better align the property with surrounding area and to change the office district to residential. This is a parcel of land located south of the Swift Drive and Ridgecrest Drive intersection. The request is to go from O1 to R2A. Like I said, just a little over 2 acres at 2.03. This is in the South Clarksville planning area. Page 8 of the staff report, you'll see that sidewalks will be evaluated at the site plan, and you'll have the school system's comments provided to you there at number 8. Page 9 of the staff report, the impact would be changing from the O1 office district to a residential zoning classification would be the largest impact. These properties would be accessed from Ridgecrest Drive, and the street department denoted that they would need a drainage easement that will be required at the development stage. Historical estimates indicate approximately 9 lots. Staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The R2A single-family residential request removes an area of O1 office district zoning that is not that is out of character with the proposed single-family residential zone, and that presents a lot width and density that does not substantially alter the character of the neighborhood and affords a minor increase in density from the existing R2 single-family residential zoning that's in the area. Adequate infrastructure does serve the site, and no adverse environmental issues have been identified relative to this request. Page 10 and 11 show the aerial overviews of the request. Page 12 shows a zoning map overview of the request. If you'll please ignore page 13, there was, when we rescanned this, we had a sheet that was out of order. But it should be referenced in the public comments that are received in reference to this application. They're on 14 through 18. And then page 19 should have been the one that's at the front of that. But you see the public comments that are referenced in there. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in the public hearing again, this being for case Z02 2024. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Mr. Hedrick.
Before I say my name, I'd like to say I'm really sorry I wasn't invited to Ruth's retirement party. But it's okay, next time. When John retires, maybe I'll get invited.
Ms.
My
Russell,
name
head
is
of the guest
Sid
list.
Hedrick, and so I'm here to speak on behalf of this. We will not be talking about breakfast delicacies or how you like them served, but I know you missed it last month. I'm really sorry.
Give us your address.
Oh, you gotta have my address too? Undisclosed.
We
P.O.
wanna
Box
know
3,
where to find you.
2006 Hidden Meadows Drive, Adams, Tennessee. Today we're gonna talk about my grandmother. My grandmother was, I felt like, a really intelligent, persevering woman. She was widowed in 1939 with 2 little boys. That's like that's 85 years ago, you know? And she had a restaurant, and she lived in the logging and paper mill town of Bogalusa, Louisiana. Her name was Harriet Eva Letty Magnolia Smith Hedrick. That's a lot of names. And, you know, so she later married her deceased husband's brother. I know that seems a little odd, but it's okay. I turned out okay. And so then her name, she added the Hedrick on the end. When my step-grandfather died, she moved here to Clarksville to live close to my dad. That was her favorite child. We won't, thankfully, her other children, they're dead. They won't know. And then she married Arthur Mackey. So she was Harriet Eva Letty Magnolia Hedrick, or Smith Hedrick Mackey. That's like 8 initials, you know? That's a lot of initials. And what I always like to think about my grandmother is when you think about today, you have somebody and they're a doctor, and at the end of their name, they'll put D.O. Or you have an engineer, and at the end of their name, they'll put P.E., right? Or like even Director Tyndall, I think he's got a certification behind his name that says AICP. And I like to always think that the folks with all the initials really are the ones we should be letting make a lot of the decisions or give us all the recommendations. And today the staff has recommended for approval on this zoning, and I hope that you'll kind of see it the way they see it, because I think it's a reasonable request. You guys have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
It's always interesting to see what you're gonna say.
Yeah, I feel like you guys need to know a little bit more about me. So now you've met my grandmother, maybe next time you'll get to hear about my grandfathers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hedrick. Is anyone else here to speak in favor of ZO2 2024? Anyone in favor? Okay, do we have anybody here who would like to speak against this rezoning? If you would give us your name and your address, please, sir.
Hi, my name is John McConnell. I live at 703 Ridgecrest Drive. 703 Ridgecrest Drive is across the street from where this parcel of land, in this case, is located. I've talked to many of my neighbors, and it's reassuring for me to hear just how many of them really love Clarksville. And we are all, along with the commissioners, really in this together to try to make Clarksville as great of a place to live in as possible. We want to thank the city council, and specifically our council member, Travis Holloman, and others like Joe, for advocating for the safety and well-being of the neighborhood. We want to thank the commission for allowing us to speak our concerns. Look, we're not opposed to the rezoning to residential. We are basically asking, why can we not rezone this to residential with the lowest density designation so that it would match the rest of the linked neighborhood, which is R2? In the city's land use plan, which is a great study, by the way, I think you, Mr. Swift, had a part in it. It says, and I quote, "Areas with excessive slope, 15%, should remain unimproved or be developed only under the provisions of the lowest density categories." On page 39 of the new Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan that just came out, it says, quote, "Avoid developing on steep slopes due to increased risks of erosion, environmental damage, higher construction costs, and safety hazards," end quote. This is not a simple grading issue. We're talking about a 2-acre parcel of land that is part of a topography of connected land that averages over 14% slope. Given this guidance, why would we not choose R2, which is the lower density category? The last time Mr. Hedrick spoke in front of the commission, he used a maple syrup analogy and spoke of his desire to sweeten the deal. Look, we understand that from a business case, but he doesn't live in this neighborhood. We, the residents of the neighborhood, will have to live with the daily implications of this development. His only implication is financial. Who is looking after the maple syrup for Kathy Haywood, our elderly, blind neighbor who risks checking her mailbox on the street? Who is pouring the maple syrup for Shayla Abbott, whose young son was hit by a car because of the tight quarters on Swift? Not one person we spoke to in our neighborhood is in favor of this. What about our concerns about the safety and well-being of the residents? We are the ones who live in this neighborhood. There are no sidewalks or walkways for the elderly to walk, for school children to play or walk to the school bus stops.
Our 3 minutes is finished. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else who would like to speak against Z02 2024? Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please.
I'm Charlotte Nelms. I live at 1056 Manning Heights. I am speaking on behalf of Donna Brew Radcliffe. She had a medical emergency and could not come, so I'm reading her notes. She lived at 1018 Ridgecrest Drive for 38 years. She taught elementary and middle school students in Clarksville, Montgomery County schools for 36 years, 12 of those years teaching 5th and 8th graders. Concerning Z02 2024, the increased amount of traffic congestion and children riding bikes, skateboard, or sleds down extremely sloping narrow driveways is hazardous to the kids and drivers. It puts all of our current and future residents at risk, especially irresponsible children and teens seeking thrills on these driveways. Since there's absolutely no way to widen Swift Drive, it is impossible to add sidewalks. Therefore, all activities such as bike riding, skateboarding, walking, and waiting for school or city bus, jogging, walking pets must be done in the middle of a narrow roadway. This is especially dangerous since there is a blind corner right where Swift Drive and Ridgecrest Drive meet. I cannot imagine 8 to 10 skinny, severely sloped driveways emptying cars and people right out into the area where the blind corner exists. Since all the driveways currently at the end of Swift Drive are so short, renters and owners must park their cars on the street in front of their homes, with inattentive children running between cars and people opening the car doors. This basically make this narrow road a one-lane road going into the blind corner. We already know of an inattentive young child that was hit by a slow-moving car on Swift Drive. Thank goodness no medical intervention was needed, but adding 6 to 20 more cars will further aggravate the safety issues due to traffic congestion. I'd like to address the letter from the school bus driver, Helen Plur, who resides at 1003 Swift Drive. I believe you all have a copy. Since cars block one side of the road, the school system will not allow bus drivers to pick up the elementary students and proceed to Ridgecrest. Therefore, the drivers must back to an extremely narrow road to turn around. As far as our middle schoolers who are picked up between 6 and 6:30 a.m., they have to walk in the middle of the sloped road in the dark to wait for their school bus. Then in the winter, they're walking once again in the middle of a dark road to get home, all because the road is too narrow for a school bus to drive down. Now they plan to add 16 to 20 other children in this unsafe environment. Stop a moment and envision this scenario with me. Irresponsible preteen and teenage children thrilled at the thought of barreling down a severely sloped driveway on a bike or skateboard, directly in the street where drivers are coming around a blind corner. This could easily be a fatal situation for children and unbelievably traumatic for drivers who might hit them. Parking for the new residents should
Ma'am.
definitely be required to keep anyone safe behind their homes. Am I up? Okay, thank you.
There. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, do we have another speaker? Okay, yes, sir.
Hi, how's everybody doing today?
Good. Name and address, please,
Robert
sir.
Zimmer, 1019 Ridgecrest Drive. Without trying to repeat everything that was already been said, number one, I'd like to speak for all the residents who couldn't make it here today and express their disapproval of this project, because between John and I, we talked to pretty much every resident that lives on Ridgecrest, Swift, Monroe, and Woodlawn, which connects Swift and Ridgecrest Drive. Every resident is against this project, every single one of them. Probably for the reasons that have already been stated. Additionally, I live at the top of Ridgecrest Drive, which is, I counted the cars yesterday that come up Ridgecrest from Swift around that corner, and I counted 2 cars. Now, if you're gonna proceed with this project at R2A, 8 to 10 units, you're gonna introduce 20 more cars. So my traffic's coming past my house is going to increase by potentially 5 times what it is right now, at least. And all the driveways that are on my part of Ridgecrest Drive, when we back down our driveways, we can't see what's coming around that corner. And traffic that's coming around that corner also can't see us coming out of our driveways. So it's a hazardous situation by increasing the amount of cars coming through that narrow intersections. Not only do you have one blind corner, but you have 2. One at the bottom of the hill, one at the top of the hill. So between that and also the increased amount of traffic, the introduction of houses that are probably your residential units that are probably going to be rented out. When you rent out units, you're going to be introducing a more transient population. And my fear is that crime will increase in our neighborhood. Not only the traffic concerns, but also crime, and possibly even drug dealing. So we don't want that happening in our neighborhood. Thank you. Appreciate your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmer. Good. Yeah, Mr. Hedrick, do you want to have an opportunity to rebut? Okay. Public hearing is closed, Commissioners.
Mr. Tyndall, could I ask just a couple of questions, if you wouldn't mind? One question would be, I know it's been requested by others for this to be R2 instead of R2A. What we're seeing on here is for R2A historical estimates being 9. What would your historical estimate be if it was zoned as R2 versus R2A?
6 to 7.
6 to 7, so 2 to 3 more if it was R2A. And as it's currently zoned as O1, what could potentially go in there as O1?
That's an office zone, so any amount of professional offices, doctor offices, medical centers. That's pretty much it for O1, I believe.
Call centers, anything like that?
Call center, yeah. Not just no retail sales for the most part, unless it's in conjunction with what that office does.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I make a motion. I'll be honest with you, I voted against this last time and then it was sent back to us, but I think Mr. Hedrick has heeded some requests and reduced with the R2A instead of his R3 that he requested first time. So as it being consistent with the adopted land use plan, I make a motion for approval.
I don't like the office being in the middle of the neighborhood, so I'm going to, the O1 zoning in the middle of a neighborhood, so I second.
I'm sorry.
She seconded.
She seconded it with
okay.
some additional
Sorry.
information.
You okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, we got a motion and a properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Commissioners, your next application starts on page 20 of your staff report for the city. It is the application of Maria Gold. It is Z3 2024, requested to go from R1 Single Family Residential District to C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District for a tract of land fronted on the south frontage of Needmore Road, approximately 955 feet east of the Needmore Road and Needmore Court intersection. The reason for the application, stated by the applicant, is to provide for a commercial development that includes small contract warehousing. This does encompass just right at 5 1/4 acres. It would be an extension of the C5 zoning classification. It's currently a vacant grassland field with some small tree lines. It is in the Trenton Road planning area. On page 21 of the staff report, you'll see the department comments that were received in reference to this application. The street department required a traffic assessment. It was received and accepted by the street department, as the development won't have an adverse effect on Needmore Road. They also denoted that there's a possible drainage easement needed, and likely a 100-year flood easement would likely be required for this development as well. Page 22, the impact would be increased traffic, light, and noise. It would be accessible, as stated earlier, by Needmore Road. The staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The C5 highway and arterial zoning request is in an area that has a mixture of uses. The request to extend the C5 zoning from the west and north along the frontage of Needmore Road is consistent with the established development pattern. Adequate infrastructure does serve the site, and no adverse environmental issues have been identified as part of this request. The next 2 pages, you'll have your aerial overview of the request. Page 25 shows the zoning map overview of the request. And on page 26, you'll see that we've received no public comments logged in as of 4:30 yesterday afternoon. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Okay, we're in public hearing for case Z03-2024, applicant being Maria Gold. Do we have someone here to speak on behalf of this request?
Howdy, my name is Shelton Covington. I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant here. So this is kind of a unique piece of land. I'm sure you can see by the downslope off the road. It's low-lying. You heard of the necessary easements required for drainage and water. The reason this is particularly interesting is because of the geographical limitations. Very specific commercial buildings would have to be built here to make it work for the land. So a C5 designation here would be beneficial because the idea would be to do small contract warehousing, which would have a much smaller impact versus your typical C5 designation, such as fast food or a shopping center. So this ideally would be a lower profile commercial property. Because of the drainage and the low-lying land, you would be required to have the buildings set back off the road quite far, which I believe would help with the privacy and the noise. I would be happy to answer any questions you guys have about that.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of Z3-2024? Okay, is there anyone here who'd like to speak against zoning application Z03-2024? Anyone against? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Commissioners, we're in regular session.
Make a motion for approval based off staff's recommendation.
Got a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and properly made second, all in favor, aye.
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 I'm gonna ask that again, that was kind of weak. Come on.
It was spread out.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay. All against, also aye. Okay, motion passes.
Commissioners, your next application for city zoning starts on page 27 of the staff report. It is the application of CJB Partners, Z4-2024, requested to go from R1 Single Family Residential District to R6 Single Family Residential District. And this is for 2 parcels. At the south, one is at the southeast corner of Britton Springs and Morningside Drive, and the other is at the southwest corner of Britton Springs Road and Ambrose Drive. The reason for the request stated by the applicant is to provide for single-family infill development with a private alley access. And this request is just under an acre at .85 plus or minus. This would not be an extension of the zoning, of R6 zoning, although there was a case across the street on the other side of Britton Springs Road that was recommended for approval and has received approval for first reading at the city council, if that's important to know for you. This property is described as two single-family residential lots that suffered catastrophic tornado damage. You'll see in the photographs, a lot of the damage is still visible, but these lots have been completely cleared of their previous structures. And this is in the Lafayette planning area. Page 28 of the staff report, the street department indicated that sidewalks will be required on the frontages of Britton Springs, Ambrose, and Morningside Road. No driveway access will be permitted to Britton Springs Road, which would align with the request for private alley access by the developer. And they've also made a request to try to maintain a 30-foot MBSL or minimum building setback line along Britton Springs Road, and that's something that we would look at the development stage to preserve the potential for future widening on this portion of Britton Springs Road as it approaches the light at Fort Campbell Boulevard. Number 8 is the school system comments that were received in reference to this application. Page 29, this request would allow for increased single-family residential density. Historical estimates for R6 would indicate 10 potential lots. Staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan, and these properties and previous structures sustained significant damage from a recent tornado. The RPC staff has reviewed this area due to the overall loss of structures due to the tornado for this area, and have determined that additional density along the frontage of Britton Springs Road and near the Fort Campbell Boulevard intersection appears to be appropriate, as it provides a framework for the existing neighborhood to reestablish. Adequate infrastructure serves the site, including other residential supportive uses such as mass transit and retail services, are within close proximity to the east. Sidewalks will be required as part of this development, and they're required as part of R6 zoning. No adverse environmental issues have been identified as part of this request. Page 30 is an aerial overview, and 31 is a aerial overview as well. And you can see the previous structures that were on site. Page 32 is a zoning map overview. And on page 33, as of 4:30 yesterday afternoon, there's been no formal public comment logged, but we did take several phone calls and answer questions in reference to this application. So if you have any questions yourselves, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the public hearing for case Z04-2024. Does anyone here like to speak in favor of this case?
Hello, my name is Christian Black, 150 Deerwood Road. I'm here to answer any questions you have, and I just was going to mention what John already said, that you guys approved kind of the adjacent piece to the northeast of this, directly across from Ambrose last month, and I think it got 12-1 approval at the first reading of City Council. So if you have any other questions.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of Z04-2024? Anyone like to speak against this rezoning application? Please give us your name and address, please, sir.
My name's Michael Canfield. I live at 106 Morningside Drive. I'm against this because it don't fit in with the density of the area. You're talking about putting a bunch of families in a little teeny small area. Kids that got to go to school, where's going to be the area where they can get access to the school bus, for example? There's no playground, there's no parks in the area for children to play. It's going to bring a negative influence to the neighborhood in the noise levels, as it has done further down on Britton Springs Road. They built a whole lot of apartments down through there, and as I've talked to the people in their neighborhoods in that area that have been established there, that many are retirees and working people. That they all say that there's a lot more noise in their neighborhoods than there used to be, and the crime rate has went up. Seems like every day I see a gentleman on a motorcycle. He goes down, up and down Britton Springs on the back tire of his motorcycle. So there's a lot of speeding and a lot of noise going up and down Britton Springs Road at this point. So I'm against this because it just don't fit. That brings too many families into a little teeny small area. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, did we get your name right as Mike Canfield? Mike, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else who'd like to speak against this particular application?
Hi, my name is Mark Wazalowski. I live at 108 Morningside Drive. I take care of my father-in-law, David Slaughter, who's been there since there was only 4 houses there. Since 58 years he's lived there. And I don't know what people are seeing, but while we're displaced for 2.5 months, people swoop in, buy up these 2 lots that's literally a stone's throw overlooking our pool in our backyard. If you look at the pictures, you can see that. We're gonna end up having to build a structure just to block them from looking at our backyard, the privacy that he's had for 58 years. And then I hear, you know, the ones that are approved on the other side of Britton Springs. Well, that's the other side of Britton Springs. That's just a whole different thing. It was just nothing but woods. Everything on the left side when you're coming from Fort Campbell's is residence. They're already putting up houses with the pitches to, I mean, they're just putting up houses, anything. And I know the 2 houses in front of me are being destroyed. I don't know what they're gonna put up there if they'll let this go through. And if they're not letting any traffic go in on Britton, is it coming in on Morningside? Everybody's already going down 50 miles an hour down the 20-mile-per-hour road anyway. Where I'm out there yelling at people every day, slow down. We got kids right down the road playing with their little, you know, battery-operated trucks. And I just hate to see it, because I know every one of my neighborhoods, everybody doesn't like this. And we just didn't have a chance. If we would have had a chance to buy those lots, we would have. But somebody comes in with money who doesn't live in that neighborhood, they do it, and that's what we're stuck with. And so I just hope y'all don't vote for it. If they want to build a single-family home, fine, we're all for it. But it's just not going to fit on that side of the street on Britton Springs. The other side is totally different. Unless you live there, you don't know. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. That's 3.
That was 2.
Is there one other party that would like to speak against this zoning application? Okay. Mr. Black, I think, is he still here? Yes. You've got an opportunity to rebut.
Just like to mention, I didn't swoop in and buy this property. I was contacted by the property owner to buy it. I will say that it is, you know, on the Britton Springs main road there. We're not inside the neighborhood, and it is walkable to Fort Campbell Boulevard and the commercial stuff there. I think we're 700 feet from Fort Campbell Boulevard, so not only would it be, you know, higher density for that area, it'd be, you know, walkability, which Clarksville doesn't really have, so.
Mr. Black, based on the zoning request, you're planning on building single-family homes there?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
We're finished with our public hearing, sir. We've gone through all the steps.
He said something that isn't true.
Okay. Okay, Commissioners, we're in regular session now.
I make a motion for approval based on the proposed zoning request as consistent with the adopted land use plan, and these properties and previous structures sustained significant damage from a recent tornado.
Second.
Got a motion and a properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
That'll be no.
Okay, the motion passes 4-1.
All right, Commissioners, your next city zoning case is Z6 2024. It starts on page 34 of the staff report. It encompasses just under an acre and a half. Requested to go from R1 single family to R4 multifamily. This would be an extension of the zoning classification of R4, and it's for a parcel fronting on the east frontage of Trenton Road, approximately 285 feet south of the Trenton Road and Cypress Court intersection. It's currently described as a semi-wooded parcel with a structure on site, and the applicant stated they wish to develop multifamily with the adjacent property to the south and east. And those are both these properties, the one that's existing R4 and what's proposed are under the same ownership. Page 35 indicates comments from the street department have requested to reserve right-of-way for future TDOT widening of Trenton Road. A traffic study may be required at the site plan development. Also indicated it's likely that a drainage easement would be required along the south and eastern property lines. Number 8, you'll see the school system comments in reference to this application. Turn to page 36 of the staff report. The impact would be increased multifamily residential density, accessible from Trenton Road. Historical estimates for this portion of property would be 17 units. Staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The proposed R4 multifamily residential zoning is not out of character with the surrounding development pattern and is also an extension of the established R4 district to the south. No adverse environmental issues have been identified as part of this request. The next 2 pages are zoning or aerial overviews of the request. And page 39 is a zoning map overview of the request. And there's been no formal public comment logged as of 4:30 yesterday afternoon. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're into a public hearing for case Z06 2024. Applicant is Trenton Road Properties LLC. Is there someone here who'd like to speak in favor of this rezoning application?
Good afternoon. Richard Garrett, 1488 Collinsview Way. Just here to speak in favor of it and answer any questions that you guys may have about this rezoning. All right. Seeing none. Thank you all for your consideration.
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of Z06? Okay. Anyone who would like to speak against this rezoning application? Anyone against? Seeing none, ladies and gentlemen, or commissioners, we're back into regular session.
Make a motion for approval as consistent with the adopted land use plan.
Second.
Got a motion or properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, those against, same. Passes 5-0.
Commissioners, you will turn to page 41 of your staff report. You have the application Z7 2024, Maniqua Gold. The request is to go from R1 Single Family Residential District to R3 Three Family Residential District. And this is for a piece of property located south of the northern terminus of Ann Drive. The reason for the request stated by the applicant is to build affordable single-family homes. R3 will allow more density, which will help keep the cost of the houses between low 200s and mid 200s while helping the existing neighborhood retain their value. This request encompasses 10.87 plus or minus acres and is presently zoned R1 and Ag. This would not be an extension of the zoning classification. It's currently a vacant field with a low area in the northeast corner, and it is in the Trenton planning area. Page 42 of the staff report, I will indicate that the Gas and Water Department stated that off-site sewer lift station upgrades would likely be required. The street department stated if accessing Bell Road, improvements will likely be required, and noted widened to full right-of-way width. As far as drainage, there is a low area on the property. It states a 100-year flood easement encumbers a portion of the property. And on page 8, you'll have the school system comments provided. Note 8. Page 43, this will allow for increased residential density, currently accessible for the property from Ann Drive and Bell Road. Applicant's estimate is 40 lots. Historical estimates of the property is 54. It's safe to say that the applicant's number is pretty likely when you remove the portion. There's a fairly large flood basin that's in that area that reduces the lot yield. Staff's recommendation is for disapproval. The proposed zoning request is inconsistent with the adopted land use plan. The proposed R3 moderate density residential district is not in character with the surrounding development pattern. In order to maintain linkage within the roadway network, Bell Road would need to be connected and upgraded to the standard requested by the Clarksville Street Department. No adverse environmental issues were identified as part of this request. The next 2 pages is an aerial overview of the property. Page 46 is a zoning map overview of the property. And there were some comments provided. The agent, Mr. Ligon, provided a copy of the email that you'll see there explaining what they have proposed. And then there is a subdivision layout shown as part of their public comment as well. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Okay, we're now going into public hearing for case Z07-2024. Applicant is Maniqua Gold. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this application?
Good afternoon. Calvin Legan, 387 Berry Drive. This is my rezoning request going from R1 to R3, and just ask for your approval, and I can answer any questions you might have. Or at least try to answer them. Do my best.
Any questions for Mr. Ligon? I don't believe we do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on behalf of case Z07-2024?
Hey guys, Jonathan Blick, 2015 Mossy Oak Circle. We're just kind of partnered here with Calvin on this deal. As you guys know, it's 10 acres. We're rezoning for R3. That's going to allow 40 single-family lots. These single-family lots were hoping to be in the $250,000 price range. Currently, we only have 931 homes on the market. 35 of those are new construction under $250,000, and only one of those homes is a single-family dwelling. The rest are multifamily condos that are townhouse style. We think that this definitely offers an opportunity for growth and an extension of the current subdivision. The reason we're asking for the R3 density opposed to a lower density is because of the drainage area. If we go wider lots, we're going to reduce our lot content by half. It'll be 20 lots. We've discussed that with the Planning Commission. And then also, when this was brought to me, Calvin was pretty headstrong on R4. I talked him off that ledge just because there was that subdivision there. But as you'll see from the aerial, there is ag below that is 15 acres that encumbers both sides of Bell Road. And that would get us connection to R4. It's the same family. So we think that if we don't pass this, this trip, then maybe we'll negotiate for all 25 acre parcel and come back with you at R4, which we think we have a strong case there as well. You know, right now we're just asking for single family lots. We figure, I mean, y'all know as the time goes on, the density gets more and more. So I can answer any questions on those comments.
So you said the difference between an R1 and R3 is half.
Correct.
So what would
Based
it
on-
look like as an R2?
It would be half the lots, so I would have to fall on Jeffrey on this one. I think those lots widths have to be maybe 50 or 60 foot wide.
Yeah, 50 on the R2.
Correct. So definitely, we're dealing with 30-foot lots. I mean, the only thing you can build on there is an affordable house, and that's pretty much anything under 300 these days. So we just think as soon as we can get these built, they'll be gone, and you know, we'll have some nice, probably military families in them. So,
Mr. Spanhauer corrected me. R2 is 60 feet wide.
Okay.
R2A 40 feet wide.
Okay, so how many houses? What are the difference between the R3?
Roughly half.
Half.
based on our drawing, we had 30-foot lots, and if he's saying 60 foot,
Yeah, if-
it would be exactly
Page
half.
49 of your packet shows
Okay.
a potential layout. It hasn't been reviewed for completeness yet, so, you know, take it for what it's worth. You know, it is certified by an engineering company. What I did, I just counted out up the amount of lots that are at the rear of it, and I see 10 lots that come up and drive. This shows 13 to 14 on the same distance, so if that gives you just an idea of the scale you're looking at compared to the R2 behind it.
What about the R2A with the dead space?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Mr. Blix worked out the numbers for R2A. This was drawn for R3
Well,
here, so.
just quick math on the spot, maybe we could get to 25.
Yeah,
or
they're about
30.
25% larger,
Yeah.
R2A than R3, so maybe
So,
about
I
a
mean-
25% loss of
Right.
lots. It's tough with that area and the way
Yeah.
the road curves.
But of course, we've already negotiated for a purchase price, and at that purchase price, we have to have so many lots, or else we're gonna be having to ask 350 to 400,000 for those houses, which are gonna get us out of that sweet spot that we know as soon as we build it, it's gonna be gone. So, I mean, I'm just working the numbers, you know, I mean, and then also, if we do have to wait till we get both parcels in negotiation, then that's gonna be R4, and they're gonna be 160 doors probably for 10 acres. And we can manipulate the water a lot easier with R4 and not have to do a big roadway or do all this stuff, so it's just easier to go ahead and push it through as R3 and get some affordable stuff out there for everybody, so.
When you're talking about, what do you mean as far as having to do a big roadway?
Well, R3 would be a public street. R4 would be a private road, I would imagine.
Okay. I was just making sure because I knew it had already said on here that Bell Road would have to be improved to right-of-way standards.
Correct. If we do utilize that, I think there's a way to stub it, just like they did on Ann Drive where it meets our parcel currently. But I'm no engineer, so.
Anything else for Mr. Blake?
Thank you.
We've had two speakers. Is there anybody else here who'd like to speak in favor of this rezoning application? Anybody who'd like to speak against this rezoning application? Seeing no opposition, public hearing is closed. Commissioners, we're back in the regular session.
Make a motion for disapproval as the R3 is not in character with the surrounding development pattern.
Second.
So we've got a motion and a properly made second to, or against this rezoning application. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Want it noted that I abstained.
Got one abstention and 4 against the zoning application. Spainhour?
Yes, sir. Your next application. Page 50. If I can get the page to move there. Starts on page 50, your staff report. It is the application Z8 2024, the application of Mr. James Pelham. The request is to go from R1 Single Family Residential District to R2 Single Family Residential District, and it's for a property on north of Earl Slate Road, 275 plus or minus feet east of the Earl Slate Road and Saunders Road intersection. The reason for the request is this rezone is to add an additional lot during the replat to fix a parcel that is landlocked. This request encompasses 1.41 plus or minus acres. It is in the Rossview planted area. Department comments are received in reference to this application. As Gas and Water stated that possible gravity sewer main extension may be required. As far as drainage from the street department, there appears to be a sinkhole in the area that they need to calculate the 100-year flood elevation on the adjacent property to the west at the construction drawing phase. Number 8, you'll see the school system comments. This request will allow for increased single-family residential density. Both the applicants and our historical estimate are both 2 lots. The staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The R2 single-family residential request is in character with the surrounding development pattern and will afford the applicant to build 2 homes on conforming lots. Adequate infrastructure does serve the site, and no adverse environmental issues were identified as part of this request. The next 2 pages are the aerial overviews of this request. For lack of a better way of explaining it, this upside-down boot, the toe of the boot, that square that is there was a landlocked piece of property. The neighbor has acquired that, and essentially needing to meet lot width at Earl Slate Road is what is required in the R2 zoning classification to accommodate 2 lots. Mr. Pelham has provided there on page 56 a detail of what he plans to do if this zoning is passed. And I received a phone call right before the meeting. Mr. Pelham was supposed to be at today's meeting, but had an inspection scheduled for a tornado damaged property, and it got moved back at the same time of this meeting. And he wanted me to make you aware of the submittal that he had there, and he plans to attend city council, but he would not be able to be here today. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in the public hearing again. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application on Mr. Pelham's behalf?
Britt Little, Weekly Brothers Engineering, 108 Center Point Drive. Mr. Spainhour's done a good job explaining the details of this case. I just wanted to make myself available to answer any questions that you might have for me.
Any questions for Mr. Little?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of Z08 2024? Anyone who would like to speak against this rezoning application? Anyone against? Seeing no opposition, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners?
I'll make a motion for approval based on the R2 Single Family Residential District request is in character with the surrounding development pattern and will afford the applicant to build 2 homes on conforming lots.
Second.
We've got a motion and a properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Do you want me to take it?
Mr. Chairman, I believe I explained this one last month at the Planning Commission. Ultimately, it was sent back for consideration of changes by the City Council. And just based on the fact that it was sent back after I explained it, I'm going to defer to Mr. Tyndall. Maybe he has better luck than I do.
So this went forward with a staff and a planning commission approval to city council last month. I was not there to present the case, so Mr. Spainhoward might be able to fill in some gaps here, but a lot of the discussion centered around the fact that RM1 is not exclusive to the Britton Springs Road area. There are 2 or 3 other pockets around town. One I think you saw today off the Ann Drive area, another off of 101st and Fort Campbell Boulevard in one of those corners over there, and a little bit in the New Providence area. So this, because it's a zoning change citywide, it would affect all RM1 lots citywide, even though the majority of the lots in the Britton Springs Road also represent the majority of the RM1 lots in the city, probably about half of them. We've received some additional information I'll be packaging up tomorrow for City Council to send along with the request and present on Thursday from the assessor's office, showing that almost every mobile home on an RM1 lot in the area has been more than 50% damaged or completely destroyed or pulled off the property. In addition, this past month, we've had another 2 people come to our office asking to build conventional built homes or bring in a double wide, which is considered a conventional built home and not a single wide mobile home, which currently RM1 only allows. So staff stands by their original recommendation, saying that this is the right thing to do. The other thing I can provide City Council is maybe 6 months to a year from now is give a report from the code department just how many of these parcels have been developed and what they've been developed as. Has it been a mobile home? Have they all been stick-built homes? We can look at addressing it in another year from now, and I think that is a nice middle of the road, because then we don't want this to be necessarily sunset, which is kind of the impression we got from City Council last month, was they only wanted it to apply only to damaged parcels and only for a period of a few months. That's not how zoning works. It can work that way with other things like fee waivers and stuff like that. So again, we feel that it's appropriate to send forward as is, and we'll be presenting it as is again this month with a little more information, and hope it passes this month. This will require a public hearing here since it's being considered again, and I'll take any questions at this time.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're in public hearing for case Z001-2024. Clarkson Montgomery County is looking to make some changes in RM1 zones. Anybody else who would like to speak to this particular issue, for or against? Seeing nobody interested, we'll close the public hearing. Back into regular session, Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I will add, we've taken multiple visits to this area where the tornado damage has occurred, Britton Springs Road, Evans Road, to try to monitor what's happened real time. We have observed a few mobile homes being reinstalled as well, not just individuals that are interested in building conventional built homes, which would require them to come to our office. But we have seen new mobile homes or newer mobile homes being installed. So just think that's important to denote as well.
I make a motion for approval of staff's recommendations.
Second.
Got a motion and properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Commissioners, if you'll close out the city zoning tab, you've got one county case under county zoning. It is CZ1-2024. Starts on page 1 of the county zoning tab. It's the application of Jonathan Blick. Request to go from R3 residential, 3-family residential district to C5 highway and arterial commercial district. It's for a property, a parcel located in the northwest corner of Oakwood Road and Wine Lane. The reason for the request stated by the applicant is to offer commercial use to match properties in the area, 508 feet from the property. We feel this is the highest and best use rather than multifamily with 1,200 foot of highway frontage. This encompasses 2.32 acres. Would not be an extension of the zoning classification. This is in the Woodlawn planning area. Page 2 of the staff report. The highway department indicated that they would defer a traffic impact study to the site plan. The Montgomery County Codes Department, in reference to drainage, indicated that there is a possible wetland on site. Page 3 of the staff report, this request would permit or create increased traffic, light, and noise. It's accessible from Oakwood Road, Wine Lane, and Old Dover Road North. Staff's recommendation is for disapproval. The proposed zoning request is inconsistent with the adopted land use plan. The proposed C5 highway and arterial commercial district should have frontage and visibility from the reestablished Dover Road, not Old Dover Road or Oakwood Road. Proposed C5 zoning, C5 highway and arterial commercial request appears out of character with the immediate rural and residential uses. The site has wet soil conditions and limited drainage, increasing the possibility of uses of the parcel of this land is discouraged, and that's from our land use plan. Overall use of the property is very limited due to the need of septic facility on site. So this property is not served by Clarksville Gas and Water. If you have any questions for me or the staff, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them. But the aerial overviews are on page 4 and 5. There's a zoning map overview on page 6. And we've received several phone calls in reference to this application, but they've chosen not to leave a public comment. In my understanding, they plan to attend today's meeting. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Okay, we're in public hearing at this point. Case CZ 01-2024. Anyone here would like to speak in favor of this application?
Jonathan Blick, 2015 Mossy Oak Circle. So this property is a 2.3 acre plat that is 1,200 feet of old highway on both sides, and then Wine Lane cuts through an area on the eastern side. And you're looking to utilize maybe less than an acre of that, so the right side of the current driveway. We're thinking that this would allow for additional commercial use along the use of smaller home business, which already involved in. Oakwood Road currently has a few businesses operating on the road. We're less than 500 feet on that same road to C5 in one direction and less than 1,000 feet in the other direction. We believe that commercial use would be more ideal than currently zoned multifamily, which could currently, by code, get 5 quad lots on that. The closest quad to that area is on Woodline Road, which is right there next to the DG, and that area is close to Lylewood Road. So currently Oakwood Market operates over there. There's a Oakwood leasing office. Kennedy Roll-Off is at the end of the street as well. And there's also an Oakwood towing lot behind Jeff Burkhart's commercial use building. I think they're having some trouble because that C5 did not run up to Oakwood Road. There's some kind of a setback that encompasses that ag. So, that's why we're not wanting to rezone a portion of this C5 and leave the other side R3, because those imaginary lines, as y'all can tell, are getting people in trouble because they've got 3 different zones and they're coming to y'all and rezoning it all in one. So we're just trying to keep it nice and clean and not have any kind of weird setbacks or any additional items. But, I think that if C5's on the street within 500 feet, I think I've got a good argument there. And, it's a lot easier septic-wise to support one office bathroom than a couple multifamily units. And, if we have to support a multifamily unit, then we're probably going to do the fullest and probably pump the waste out of there. So.
Question, it's one of the things is, one of the conditions for the disapprovals that it said this particular property has wet soil conditions and limited drainage. So how are you building on that? It's not going to affect the people on either side of that property?
Well, we're 3-side street and there's no culvert. So currently, I guess the county roads are using that as a drainage area. So that may be why they're trying to keep us from building on it. But, you know, there's on-site stuff that we can do at the site plan. And like I said, we're only using 1 acre, which is, of
Right.
course, is going to be the driest area.
Right.
So, you know, we're committing this acre tract to the left to be our drainage area where we can, because, I mean, we can't send it anywhere else. And
Right.
currently, to the left, which R3 permits, is a guy's dug 4 ponds there and tried to raise catfish maybe 20 years ago. And so that is adding to the wetness of the area because this person's abandoned that catfish pond.
Oh.
Commercial, because you can do that in R3. So
How many homes could you build if it was R3?
if it's R3, well, given that it's 75 feet, I mean, the 4 quads or 5 quads is the lots. So you could probably build either 5 houses or maybe a little bit above that because you could choke it down to 75-foot lots. Or you could do triplexes. So, but that's permitting the sewer, septic, so we can either wait on sewer or we can go with a non-traditional plan and have an on-site where it's pumped out of there. So that's why we're trying to do the less dense thing and not have any kind of limit our waste by thing done that we can do an office building or something that's smaller. So, but as far as septic for the quads or triplexes or anything like that, it would be a holding tank that would have to go off-site. So
That's been approved by the codes department?
I haven't been that far. I mean, it's going to be a more expensive process, and it's going to be so.
I mean, I've never heard of that being an
Right.
acceptable practice, so
Right.
just,
Well, I mean, it's just non-traditional. I mean, it's an expensive route. So it's been done, just not in this county, probably.
Thank you, Mr. Blick.
Yep. Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of CZ 01-2024? In favor. Anyone who would like to speak against this application? Seeing no opposition, we're back in the regular session, commissioners.
Y'all gonna make me be the bad guy again, I guess. I mean, it's out of character with the R3 that's surrounding it, so I have to say it's inconsistent with the adopted land use plan. I make a motion for disapproval.
Second.
We've got a motion and a properly made second to disapprove the application for CZ 01-2024. All in favor of disapproval, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Also aye.
Aye.
Okay, we got 1 against, we got 4 in favor of disapproval, 1 against.
Amber.
Okay, Mr. Parker?
All right. At this time, we'll move over to the subdivision portion of the meeting. That starts on page 6 of the agenda. None of these cases were deferred yet today from earlier. All items in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the staff of the Regional Planning Commission and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the audience, commission, or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. Is there anyone in the audience who is here to have a public hearing on any of these subdivisions? Otherwise, we'll make a motion to approve them all in one motion. Yes, sir.
Yes, I would like to speak in reference, case number S-07-2024.
Jackson Hills subdivision. All right, we will pull that one from the agenda. Anyone else for any of the other subdivisions?
Let's
Alright.
do a consent agenda and vote on item 12 and item
All right.
14.
Mr. Spanhauer is going to check with some people in the audience. I'll have Mr. Parker read these into the record for the subdivisions, and we'll make a motion at the end here. Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. Our first case on the consent agenda is case number S6-2024. The applicant is Mary Lou Persinger for preliminary plat of Persinger Place. Current zoning is R2A. 208 lots are proposed. We are in the city. The recommendation is for preliminary plat approval, subject to the 3 conditions listed. Our other case on the consent agenda is case number S8-2024. The applicant's Jerry Edwards for preliminary plat of Carla Court. Lots 1, should be 1, 2, and 3. The present zoning is R2. 3 lots are proposed. Again, we're in the city, and the recommendation is for preliminary plat approval, subject to the 3 conditions listed. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, we need a motion to approve case numbers S06 and S08. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, let's go to S07-2024.
Thank you, Commissioners. Page 5 of your staff report. Case number S7-2024. The applicant's Carolyn Jackson Houston, preliminary plat of Jackson Hills. The present zoning is mostly R1. There is a little sliver of ag. Ag zoning, 109 lots are proposed. We're in the PGA portion of the growth plan area. The recommendation is for preliminary plat approval, subject to the 4 conditions listed. On page 6, below that, you'll see the department comments that were provided. I don't think there was any concerns indicated, but you can read those comments. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. Page 7 is the aerial overview of the site, and page 8 is the actual proposed preliminary plat. I will point out on the western side of the property, you can see an area that's reserved for the potential future 374 extension. That may be a future TDOT right-of-way. That is shown as open space, but they do show what we believe is where that future right-of-way may be. Again, the recommendation is for preliminary plat approval, subject to those 4 conditions listed, and I'll be happy to read those conditions in if the Commissioners prefer.
Y'all want to hear the conditions?
Yes.
Okay. First, condition 1, approval by the County Highway Department of road and drainage plans for drainage structures within the proposed rights-of-way before construction begins on site. Number 2, approval by the County Building and Codes Department of all drainage, grading, water quality, and erosion control plans. No grading, excavating, stripping, filling, or other disturbance of the natural ground cover shall take place prior to the issuance of grading and/or water quality permit. Number 3, approval by the City Engineer's Office or the Utility District and the State Department of Environment and Conservation of all utility plans before construction of the utility begins. And number 4, any TDOT updates in the SR 374 design may need to be incorporated in future plans. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go into public hearing for case S07-2024. Applicant is Carolyn Jackson Houston. Anyone here would like to speak in favor of that case?
Britt Little, Weekly Brothers Engineering, 108 Center Point Drive. The plat that we have submitted, it meets all the zoning and subdivision regulations requirements. I don't anticipate any drainage issues. Most of our stormwater will be retained on site. If there's some knowledge of some drainage issues, we can probably divert some water, more water onto our site, make volume in our basins, our own water, stormwater basins, to accommodate that. I don't anticipate any traffic issues. We have enough access points according to the subdivision regulations, and we have direct access through Cherry Fields to State Route, has plenty of capacity. But I'd be willing to answer any questions that you might have, or some in the audience might have after.
Thank you, Mr. Little.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak in favor of SO7 2024? Anyone here would like to speak against SO7 2024? Name and contact information, please.
Kevin Day, 508 South Liberty Church Road. I was gratified to hear that the approval was based on 4 conditions, because that was one of my concerns, whether a sample survey, ground sample had been done, because there was a significant sinkhole on the Crow property located on Redwood Lane. It's been there for years. I know that there's also some topographical issues in the proposed area that has some rather steep areas and could be indicative of perhaps further erosion or sinkholes. I'm primarily concerned about the access to the property from South Liberty Church. Right now, parent pickup from Liberty Elementary, you have cars backed up on the 2-lane road with minimal shoulders when the parents come to pick up their children. The line goes completely off the property of Liberty Elementary and backs up on South Liberty Church Road. It backs up past the flashing lights of the school zone on South Liberty Church. South Liberty Church is a 2-lane road with minimal shoulders. When parents are coming from north of Liberty Church to pick up their children at Liberty Elementary, they will come down past the light and South Liberty Church and do a U-turn to get in line for their parent pickup. I'm also gratified to hear that there has not been any final decision on the extension of the parkway to that area of the property. But that takes care of all of my issues. I want to thank you for your patience and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. D. Anyone else who would like to speak against this case, SO7 2024? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Maria Newsom. I live at 588 South Liberty Church Road. My concern is that traffic, that elementary school, and how is that traffic gonna work out with all these new residents? Like he was saying, he explained very well what happens when the kids come out of school. That's one of my concerns. The other concern is the deer. Every morning, I see about 20 deer in my property. A beautiful scene. What I want to know is what's going to happen to these deer. Does anybody have an answer to that? That's my concern. And that's why I vote against it. But I would like to get the answer to that.
We don't have an answer to that, honestly.
No.
This is something that happens when a community grows.
Mm-hmm. And where would that deer go to?
I suspect they know a lot better than we do.
Okay. That's my only concern.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Mr. Little. I'm sorry, is there anybody else against? Okay, rebuttal, Mr. Little.
I'll be brief. I know we've been here a while. I really anticipate our main access point being out Ireland Way, not so much South Liberty Church Road. And I think the only time you'd see people going South Liberty Church Road during school time is if somebody had children who lived in this community, and they would go up South Liberty Church Road to drop off or pick up their children. So they'd be doing that anyways, in my opinion. They'd just be coming from a different place. As far as wildlife, I can't really speak to that. I will say that we have twice the amount of open space that's required for this development. I don't know if that eases any concerns or not. And as far as drainage goes, we'll work all that stuff out during the construction plan phase, which we're about to get into if we receive the approval today. And we'll work with John Dawson, his office, to make sure we're not sending any water to any off-site sinkholes.
Mr. Little, I'm just asking because I'm looking at your plat here, but I only see access out to Ireland Way. I do, and you might tweak it and bring it out, but I don't see anything on here that shows any connectivity to Liberty Church.
We can't get to South Liberty Church from this property. The only way you could add traffic to South Liberty Church Road is if you went up to Ireland Way and then cut over to
across.
South Liberty
Okay,
Church.
but off of your property itself, there's no
Sir.
connectivity.
The only way there could be connectivity if there's development on down the road
Sure.
that ties to this stub that we're leaving.
Oh, the stub at the end.
Mr. Little, if you would, you're an engineer, you might just give us a very short answer as to what the issues are. I mean, you'll be reviewing sinkholes, you'll be looking at low depressions, you'll be looking at where water gathers. There's all kinds of issues that come with getting a site approved for development.
Yes, sir. The only way that drainage would affect an off-site sinkhole is if we're sending more water off-site. And our topography will help us contain our water on-site. So I don't anticipate any additional off-site stormwater runoff. I think we can contain it all within our development. Or if we have something that does run off, we'll catch more of our water and keep it on-site. So I don't anticipate any drainage issues associated with off-site sinkholes. And then our on-site sinkholes, there's a process that we go through with the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation where we stabilize our sinkholes.
State, TDEC.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Little, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, we are finished with our public hearing on SO7-2024. I need a motion.
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Commissioners, I will take the comments noted about the school site there, and we'll bring it up to the school system and the sheriff's department and see if there's anything they can do on site to minimize that impact to South Liberty Church. But again, not part of this development's concern necessarily. All right, we're on the final section here under page 7, site reviews. Similarly to subdivisions, all portions of this part of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the staff of the Regional Planning Commission and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the audience, commission, or staff may request that an item be removed for separate consideration. Is there anyone in the audience who needs to discuss any of the site plans individually? If not, they will be approved conditionally today. Mr. Parker, would you read them, not the ones that have been deferred, but the rest into the record?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Our first site review is case number SR 60-2023. The applicant's Haruko Brown. The name of the development is Atlas Coffee and Company. The proposed use is a coffee shop drive-through. The property is zoned C5, and the staff recommendation is for approval subject to the following 4 conditions listed. SR 5, 2024, the applicant's Jerry Atkins. Name of the development is Vista Lane Manufacturing. The zoning is M1, and the staff recommendation is for approval subject to the 4 conditions listed. Jumping on to our final site review is case SR 8, 2024. Applicant's Main Street Investments. The development's called Lafayette Road Townhomes. Proposed use is townhomes. Property zone C2, and the staff recommendation, again, is approval subject to the 4 conditions listed. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, Commissioners, we need a motion to approve these last 4 items here.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, Mr. Tyndall.
All right, Commissioners, if you'll open the Other Business tab on your iPad, 2 last items for consideration today. Well, actually 3, but the first one's the monthly profit and loss statement. Be happy to answer any questions on that. Otherwise, I'll need an approval for this month.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Got a motion to approve the profit and loss statement. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the monthly profit and loss statement. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, motion passes.
All right, next item, you can refer to the last page there or the next page. We had a road name change request brought to us by the assessor's office. The road name is called Proctor Court, but the utilities, the post office, and 911 refer to it as Proctor Drive. All the residents out there think it's Proctor Drive, and it's only the underlying information that says Proctor Court. All we're voting to do today is to bring the property card information with the assessor's office and anyone else who uses Proctor Court into conformance with Proctor Drive. This won't require any renumbering of any properties, and the residents have been alerted and will likely never even know this happened. These ones make it easy. So we will have to have a public hearing on this one because it is a road name change, and then we can consider it.
Okay, we are now going to have a public hearing to discuss the road name change of Proctor Court to Proctor Drive. Anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this change? Anyone who is against this change and would like to speak to that? Okay, public hearing is closed. Commissioners, back in regular session.
I'll
Make
make
a
a mo-
motion for approval for Proctor to make, Proctor Court. Proctor Drive.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All against, like sign. Motion passes.
Last order of business here is the Planning Commission annually nominates a member to serve on the Regional Historic Zoning Commission and Common Design Review Board. This board meets monthly, probably about 9 or 10 times a year. They don't always have an agenda. The meetings last between 30 minutes and an hour. It covers everything in the Downtown Regional Historic District, the Downtown Overlay, and the Madison Street Overlay Design Group. So at this time, Mr. Chairman, I guess we need to take nominations from the floor or pin the rose on somebody.
Do I have anyone who would like to volunteer for membership on this committee? Don't all of you jump up at one time. Okay.
Michael? Nominate Stacy Streetman. Don't start.
I already have I chair a finance committee on Mondays.
No, sir. I respectfully decline.
I nominate Eric Honeycutt.
I second.
Got a motion and a properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
I guess I don't have a choice.
Thank you, Eric.
Ladies and gentlemen, the last item on the agenda today is a public comment period, and it's for items that were not discussed at today's meeting. You got 3 minutes to make a statement or advise us of something that you think we don't know about. We haven't had a lot of takers on this one, but it's out there, and the opportunity is to speak if you'd like to. Mr. Little, are you gonna speak?
No, he's chasing that gentleman down.
Catch a neighbor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I will add, we'll have Mr. Clemens get in touch with you, get you some advance.
He said thank you.
Some
advance
heavy
meeting
reading.
material.
Cal Birch, you got something to say?
Okay, we need a motion to,
Motion.
Second.
we are adjourned.